Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Women's Advanced Bible Study Night, 29th of February, 2024. Okay, we'll be reading out of the book of Isaiah and later on in our topic for discussion. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have a lot of videos, over 900 or so. And it will connect dots for you and lead you to the truth of the Holy Scripture. If you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And you feel a need to support the channel, we have a cash app at the bottom of the screen. It'd be greatly appreciated. Um, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts. Okay. Shalom and welcome to the channel. And welcome to our Israelite Women's Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, before we go into this topic of discussion, we'll do a moment of silence, we'll do a prayer, psalms, some women's health, we'll do some current events, need to know information, then we'll open it up for some questions and comments, dialogue, then we'll go into our topic, which we'll read out some chapters out of the book of Isaiah. Okay, then we'll close out. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay, oh Lord, we come this day, bow down, honoring you and praising you, believing in you. And we thank you for your wisdom and your knowledge that you have poured out upon us. And through your prophets, you reveal the times that we as Jacob's children will endure the tribulation. Keep us, O Lord, and guide us and deliver us. We see you now within the Holy Scriptures, the Old Testament, O Lord, and we trust you, O Lord, with all our heart and our soul. Keep not that silence any longer, but allow thy face to shine down on our enemies with thy great power and thy great glory. Peace be unto you. Okay, somebody gonna read Psalms.
Yes, sir. Psalms 32. Blessed is whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and in whose spirit is in no gala. When I kept silent, my bones waxen old through the roarings all the day long. For the day and the night thy hands was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into drought of summer. Selah. 5. I acknowledge my sins unto thee, and my iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgression unto the Lord, and thou forgiveness the iniquities of my sin. Selah. For this shall every one that is godly pray unto thee in the time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Selah. I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with my eyes. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. Be glad in the Lord, and rejoice, ye righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Right here in verse 8, this is when the Most High is saying that He will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with my eyes. That's the Lord of hosts watching over one
Right.
of the
It's
righteous.
eyes. That eye is singular. So that's the Lord of hosts.
Yes, sir.
Last night we saw it was the eyes with S on it of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
You see right here, it's singular, one eye, so it's Lord of hosts. Okay, so anybody else? Yeah, so I was focusing on compass, that word in chapter 7, then it's found again in chapter 10. So the 7 says, "Thou art my hiding place, thou shalt preserve me." Okay, uh, this is one of David's chief musicians that's talking. Okay, it says, thou art my hiding place, thou shalt preserve me from trouble, thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. So it means he's going to surround him. He's always there watching over him, compass him about. And then we see it again in 10. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. So by him always being there, mercy is also there with him, with the person, because they there, he there, watching over them. That's what that word compass means. Like constantly there, constantly watching, constantly being protected. Okay. Anybody else got any comments on that? Psalms 32. Okay, we go to women's health.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Tonight's discussion is on stress. Stress is a biological response to a perceived threat. It is caused by chemicals and hormones surging throughout your body. It can help you respond to a particular problem, but too much can harm your health. Stress should be temporary. Once you've passed the fight or flight moment, your heart rate and breathing should slow down and your muscles should relax. In a short time, your body should return to its natural state without any lasting negative effects. On the other hand, severe or prolonged stress can be mentally and physically harmful. Everyone suffers from stress at one time or another. Stress is a common human experience, particularly in a world where the demands of our time and attention seem to be unending. Our jobs, health, family, friends, and our finances can overwhelm us. We become stressed over these things because we don't trust in the Lord to provide the necessities of life. He always gives enough, so don't be defeated by stress. Isaiah 25 and verse 4 says, "For thou hast been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall." We are all eagerly looking for peace of mind. It's understandable because the world around us is hectic, chaotic, and changing fast. Here are a few ways to find some peace and calm. We can pray, exercise, meditate, create time for leisure activities, and get good quality sleep. There's no doubt that stress along with worry can be exceedingly overwhelming. It can become extremely hard to pray because in that moment, the pressure hinders our ability to think straight. Yet, it is in those pivotal moments of emotional distress that we need to draw closer to the Lord because His peace is different. When we go in His presence and invite Him to take control, we can truly stop wrestling with our thoughts, rest, and let Him work for us. Stress of all kinds is a natural part of life, but how we deal with it is up to us. If we choose to try to do it on our own, we will not find lasting relief. The only way we can consistently and successfully deal with stress is with the Lord. We must believe, trust, and obey Him. We should trust Him to do what is right because His ways are always best for us. Disobedience and sin can produce stress and cut us off from the only means of peace and joy. By obeying His commandments, we reap the blessings of true contentment from the Lord. Finally, we need to seek His peace daily by filling our minds with His word, lifting all things to Him in prayer, and praise Him in all situations. It is only by His grace, mercy, and love that stress in our lives can be managed. I'm going to read Psalms chapter 55, verse 22. Trust in the Lord, cast thy burden upon the Lord, and He shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. Tonight's discussion was on stress, and I read Psalms chapter 55, verse 22. Trust in the Lord. All praises to the Most High.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit out on that stress part of it because just like you see how the Most High work in sevens, same way on the other side of that. That's why it says when you come to a knowledge of the truth of how things operate when it comes to demonic activity, spirits, and all that. Uh, it's like a seven on righteous side, seven on the other side. It says that you cast out a spirit, wicked spirit or whatever, and then you go back to what you were doing before. Well, when you allow it back in, when it comes back, it got six more witness, seven spirits. So, but I got a book called Pig in the Parlor. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it later on, and it talks about how that comes to sevens. Just like if you notice, you got the seven spirits of chaos. Like you got the seven angels, you got the seven spirits of chaos on the other side. You know, but it's that when it comes to stress, it's a lot of things that go along with that. So it's just like keeping the Shabbat. When you start keeping the Shabbat, you're not gonna keep the Shabbat on accident. It's gonna come about from trial and error and from physical effort, putting forth an effort and learning how to keep Shabbat. It's the same thing with dealing with stress. It's an art to it. Because if you don't put no effort forward when it comes to that, you're stressed out all the time. Comes stressed out, and there's other things like I said that come along with the stress. For example, one of them is it opens, like we always hearing about hedges, and just like we were just talking about, compassed about. Well, stress open the door, open the hedge up, and allow these other spirits to come in. And you don't contain it. Learn to deal with it. Learn to put it in its place. So okay. So yeah, that's one of those things that you have to come to terms with. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Okay. So with that being said, we go to the current event. Anybody have any comments on anything before we go forward? Okay.
Shalom. I just wanted to say about that stress. Yes, sir. I was just getting ready to say that for every pro, there's a con. So, yes, sir.
Well, okay.
We need to ensure that dangerous people don't remain on the street. Deportation flights from the U.S.
Their belongings on the tarmac, lying aside manacles and chains.
You say you want to get ICE involved to help deport migrants suspected of crime.
A long line of shackled men and women scooted off a private detention center contractor's bus, up a mobile staircase, and and shuffled onto a private jetliner. This is a deportation flight run by ICE Air.
New York City didn't create this crisis. Not only is it a financial burden, but it is also a burden to the quality of life.
Migrants who were deported to Haiti today attacked pilots and immigration officers on another flight after it landed. Several of those men stormed another recently arrived jet carrying families.
We need to ensure that dangerous people don't remain on the street, and it doesn't matter if they're migrants, asylum seekers, or if they're long-term New Yorkers. This city must be safe. We deserve to be safe, and I believe that wholeheartedly.
Are you looking to take executive action to make that happen?
This is a video of myself as an AI. I created.
Topic of New York's sanctuary city status remains in the headline. We're going to hear from Mayor Adams tonight. The mayor has been speaking out against it.
The mayor's shift in opinion on sanctuary laws follows a series of high-profile crimes in which many of the accused suspects are newly arrived asylum seekers. Many times this week, he argued that current policies are a detriment to public safety. Mayor Adams on Tuesday called for more cooperation between federal immigration officials and local police, supporting the idea of them working together to deport migrants who are suspected of serious crimes.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes should have the privilege of being in our city.
The city first began limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities in the 1980s. But in 2014, under Mayor Bill de Blasio, City Council added teeth to previous executive orders, passing a law that prohibits law enforcement from honoring ICE detainer requests if a foreign national has been charged with a crime but not convicted.
The mere fact we cannot share with ICE that this person has committed 3 robberies, that this person is part of an organized gang crew. The mere fact we can't say that and can't communicate with that, that's problematic for me.
Tonight, a battle brewing between New York's governor and the city's mayor over how to handle the crushing migrant crisis. Governor Kathy Hochul's office issuing a harsh 12-page letter Tuesday night, calling out the city's response and what it says is a failure to use state-offered help.
And Mayor Adams is taking a look at the city's sanctuary laws to address the migrant crisis. This time, he's focused on crime and public safety and the city's ability to collaborate with ICE to address those issues. But speaking with the city council speaker earlier today, she says it's a non-starter, that jobs is the answer, not jail.
We are not considering changes to laws. These laws have been in effect for decades.
New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams Wednesday standing behind the city's sanctuary laws, saying they were enacted for a reason, to protect innocent immigrants who historically have felt threatened because of their status.
If the council were to change things, it would impact more people, I believe, negatively than a small fraction of what we are looking at right now.
In recent weeks, a small fraction of migrants arrested for high-profile violent crimes. Mayor Adams yesterday saying these incidents should be reported to ICE, but the city can't under the long-standing sanctuary laws.
We can't have these small number of migrants and asylum seekers that have identified that they're going to be dangerous, hide under the law, that there's nothing you can do about it because you cannot tell ICE.
Speaker Adams saying collaborating with ICE is not the answer.
People are penned up in Hercs, in other places, in respite centers, whatever we want to call them, these places with different policies with nothing to do. For me, it's going to be the work status.
Council Minority Leader Joe Borelli siding with Mayor Adams.
We are introducing a bill, a total repeal of 2011, 2014, 2017 sanctuary city laws. I don't anticipate much support from the other side, unfortunately. They should come back with their own new version of the city's sanctuary city in non-compliance with ICE rules that allows the mayor to properly get people out of here who are committing violent and repeated crimes.
As for Governor Hochul,
this is a city rule. City council are the ones that he has to work with. I'm going to continue defending and working under the state law.
New Yorkers need to send a clear message to elected leaders. Demand better from our criminal justice system.
15-year-old Jesus Rivas Figueroa remains in custody without bail. He is being tried as an adult, and Monday he pleaded not guilty to second-degree attempted murder in the February 8th shooting in Times Square. Figueroa is accused of shoplifting and then aiming the gun at the security officer who stopped him, but then allegedly missing and hitting a tourist in the leg instead. He's also accused of shooting at a police officer trying to arrest him in the middle of crowded Times Square.
We're no longer blurring the teen's face now that he's being charged as an adult. The PBA showing up to court in support of the officers.
This individual believed that he could steal. He believed that he could carry a legal firearm. He believed that he could shoot into a crowd. And he believed he could kill a New York City police officer. And he thought he was going to get away with it.
Arraigned in court on Saturday.
Take a lead on. In fact, you can charge up to and drain down your Patriot.
We've called for a state of emergency at the federal level, so if the state can help expedite that, get that done, we would love that.
But the future is still uncertain for hundreds of migrants in New York, once again caught in the middle of a political face-off.
Border battle once again heating up here. We just got our hands on some new migrant encounter numbers from our CBP sources that confirm that we are on track to beat last February's encounter numbers. We've already seen nearly 140,000 people enter the country. That includes Venezuelan migrants as well. We've already seen around 6,000 individuals from Venezuela come in to the country this month alone. Now, Nicole, it's important to note here that only about 2,000 migrants from Venezuela have actually been removed from the country on these repatriation flights over the last 4 months, which is just a fraction of who we're encountering down here. Let's take a listen to what Representative Tony Gonzalez had to say about what's really going on here with these repatriation flights and what the Biden administration is saying.
They tell you one thing and they do another. Details matter. You know, when you say you're repatriating people, you're deporting people to Venezuela, or are you deporting dozens? Are you deporting hundreds? Or are you deporting thousands? And it's very clear that they went from deporting dozens to zero, and that is not going to fix the problem.
Okay, so what happens to those migrants? That's an important question there, right? Because they...
Anybody have any comments on that?
Shalom. They're saying that there's less criminals that Councilman Alderman or Adams saying it's less criminals, so just give them education and teach them. But the boy, clearly 15-year-old, had a gun, tried to shoot the police, and robbed. He shouldn't go to school. He should go to some detention center or something. They can teach him in there, because it's just going to keep escalating.
Right. Well, I mean, the crazy part about it is why they can't stay where they at, get educated where they at, instead of coming over here. I mean, how did this happen? It's crazy.
I think that a lot of them are fleeing because they're being, tortured and broken away from their families and not told if their families are good or not. So they're just trying to flee as a family and get out of there before they get caught or killed themselves. But those that are coming to murder or make bad havoc in the city, they should be dealt with, in my perception of it.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, just like, I mean, why all of a sudden, last couple of years or so, all the numbers, that's the crazy part to me. What happened that all these numbers, they increased so much to the point where it's at now, where it's causing problems with a lot of our major cities. That's the part that's baffling me. Okay.
Morning today, folks, and it's all because of a new outbreak that's being reported in different parts of the United States. Now, what's scary about this virus is that it can spread through food and water, and there's no known treatment available for it. Now, this isn't necessarily like a new virus or a new disease, but the CDC, they're warning that it's now spreading at an alarming rate. Much like the C19 virus, it can also be contracted through close contact or contaminated surfaces. Now, will this force Americans to go back into lockdown again or have mandates be returned? Well, according to the CDC, it's unlikely. However, there's always the possibility if this virus spreads out to even more regions here in our country. And hey guys, before we get into this, I just want to thank you so much for always dropping a like for the video. I totally appreciate that. And thank you so much for always sharing these videos. It totally helps out the channel. And you've probably heard about this disease before. It's called Norovirus. So data from the CDC shows that it's now spreading throughout the Northeast, particularly in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. As if New York doesn't have enough stuff going on up there, right? Now that particular region, it has seen over 13.9% of norovirus tests come back positive. Now this is much higher compared to the rest of the United States, although it's expected to spread out even more. Now this virus is usually related to the stomach flu, but it's not related to influenza. Now, what can happen if you contract the virus? Well, it's not a pretty sight. So the norovirus causes gastrointestinal symptoms like vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, and even stomach pain. To add to that, you can even get a mild fever and body pain as well.
And the CDC says stomach viruses are spreading rapidly all across the country, and the latest data shows the western U.S. is seeing the second highest rate of norovirus cases in the nation. KTDU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters joining us live tonight from San Jose with more on what may be causing this outbreak and how you can stay healthy. LaMonica?
Alex, norovirus, or the stomach flu, is highly contagious, and wastewater samples here in the Bay Area show a rise in the virus, but doctors say there are some simple things you can do to avoid getting sick. Earlier this month, over 150 people were sickened while on a cruise set to sail from San Francisco. People reported stomach flu-like symptoms that included vomiting and diarrhea. Dr. Peter Chen Hong is a dean at UC San Francisco's.
Why is Amazon paying me $63,000?
A lot of people close together. It spread from the gut, and the symptoms are really consistent.
The CDC now says there's a more than 12% rise in norovirus cases in the Western Union in the last 3 weeks, just behind the Northeast, which has seen a 14% increase. It says the virus spreads from person to person and can survive for weeks on surfaces and objects like doorknobs, countertops, and phones.
So it's really that, going back to the beginning of even COVID, when we were always thinking about washing our hands, soap and water in the bathroom.
Stomach flu or food poisoning are common terms used for norovirus, but the virus is not a flu or respiratory sickness. Norovirus can be transferred by touching someone or any object carrying the virus. It usually spreads rapidly in closed and crowded spaces like schools, hospitals, nursing homes, and cruise ships.
So this virus spreads very easily on hands and surfaces, with just a few particles of it being enough to make somebody sick. Much like what we heard during the health crisis, the virus, it can also linger onto objects and surfaces for days or even weeks. It usually only takes about a day or two for someone to actually feel the symptom. And like I say, guys, the symptoms can get rather violent, as this is worse than just getting simple food poisoning. We also have to take into consideration that the CDC, they only track a small number of positive cases for this virus. The test that they're doing for this virus isn't actually routine, which means that there are plenty of cases that you and I have heard nothing about. So annually, the norovirus usually causes more than 110,000 hospitalizations. What makes it worse is that 1,000 of them eventually succumb to the virus and die. More cases appear during the cold months, so that's late fall, winter, and early spring. The idea is that more people are clustered together, which then rapidly accelerates the spread of the contagious disease. So
anybody heard anything about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What you hear?
Well, last year or so I done a health segment on the norovirus, right? Which is just really a stomach bug. But now they're using the more legal term, they call it norovirus, right? And it is spreaded very easily. So if you are in an office with people and they have a stomach bug and they go to the restroom and you go to the restroom behind them, you can easily catch it. Like he said, it is, it's easily spreaded from person to person. So, but we normally call it a stomach bug. And actually the name norovirus comes from, if I remember right, Brother Leonard, I think from a town in Ohio or something like that, where this disease spread it very rapidly back in the 60s, right? So they just kept that name norovirus. I think at first it was called Norwalk, Ohio, or something like that, back in the 60s, where they had this outbreak that had occurred.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have to be careful with that. So now if you go in the hospital with a stomach bug, they're going to tell you norovirus because they're going to make it seem a whole lot worse. There's no vaccine for it now, but we can be looking for that coming. That's why they're using the term norovirus.
Okay. Okay, anybody else got anything on that?
Shalom. About a month and a half ago, it could be two, Ms. Michelle, you talked about the norovirus and gave us all of those symptoms and how it spread, and keep washing hands and be out of the company of a lot of people. So yeah, you told us about that in Women's Health one about 2 months ago.
Right. Yeah, I see how they asked the question. They posed the question when they was talking about that. How what the guy was saying was they're gonna have lockdowns like they did with the jab. You know what I mean? It seems to me having the same symptoms. So it seems like to me is some kind of trick going on with it. Because if you lock down before, you ought to be locking down now. But I just, that's just me. Okay, so we'll open it up for some questions and comments. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything from last night or last week or during the Shabbat, or anything they came across they wanted to talk about? Dialogue. Okay. I don't know if anybody heard this, but all of a sudden now I think Ukraine want peace.
About the Ukraine war, it's been 732 days. The war has entered its third year now. Thousands of people have died, millions have been displaced. The West keeps giving aid. Russia keeps getting hit by sanctions. Yet 2 years later, not much has changed. The front line has barely moved. Ukraine has not made gains. Russia is powering on with its offensive, and the world is asking one question: when will this war end? 2024 could be the year. And here's why we say this. Ukraine has floated the idea of a peace summit. No official statement yet, but a proposal to host a summit in Switzerland, a neutral venue. When do they plan to do it? By this summer. And what's on the agenda? Zelensky's peace plan. It's a 10-point plan. It includes the restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity, the withdrawal of all Russian troops, the protection of food and energy supplies, nuclear safety, and the release of all prisoners of war. Basically, the Ukrainian president wants to make a peace offer to Russia.
Summit, as soon as the participating countries prepare relevant.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. The terms that he mentioned, I mean, it's crazy, right? You fought 3 years, and Russia didn't wasted all this time and materials and all that, and people lost lives. And you think he's gonna settle for those terms? It don't make any sense to me. It's crazy. So anyway, I'll let them more that play.
And fair documents. This doesn't mean Russia will accept the document. No one can guarantee who will represent the country then. But anyhow, this document, just like the Ukraine initiative, will be presented by the participants in one form or another. This has not been defined yet. It will be presented to the Russian side. Move.
It does not stop there. Reports say Ukraine will be ready for a second summit, one where they can sit down with Moscow and hopefully discuss the end of the war.
Yeah.
The million-dollar question here is, will Russia oblige?
No.
You haven't heard?
Okay. Yeah, he goes from another reason why they detour us from the book of Enoch. I thought this is pretty profound.
We're tasked with speaking with and writing down instructions from God for the rest of humanity to follow. Enoch was one of the most influential prophets, shaping the fate of angels and humanity on earth. Enoch's impact can be seen throughout ancient literature, creating the celestial hierarchy and defining the function of Michael, the archangel, in heavenly affairs. According to Jewish legend, Enoch elevated Michael to the highest rank among the angels, even identifying him as their leader.
So Enoch can elevate him to the highest angel. Enoch revealed to the world he's the highest angel. That's why I want to read Enoch.
This high rank elevates Michael to the role of mediator of God's law, the Torah, and places him at the right hand of the Almighty throne. Among the Qumran community's traditions, Michael emerges as a defender and leader, guiding God's people through the tumultuous end of days fight and assuring their salvation in the face of opposition. In numerous works, Michael's tasks are expanded. He becomes the guardian of Israel, the commander of heavenly forces, and the advocate for humanity's cause in the celestial court. Intriguingly, he may be associated with the enigmatic person mentioned in the book of Daniel as the one like a son of man, who represents divine authority and justice. Throughout ancient literature, he is portrayed as an intercessor between God and humanity, the celestial high priest who attends to the spiritual needs of the virtuous. Furthermore, Michael is thought to escort the souls of the deceased to eternal rest in paradise, providing a reassuring presence amid the mystery of the afterlife. In his multidimensional function, Enoch emerges as a significant figure in Jewish mysticism, molding our view of the heavenly realms and the intricate workings of divine providence. In the ancient book of Enoch, Enoch is listed as one of 7 respected archangels, with luminaries such as Uriel, Raguel, Raphael, Sariel, Gabriel, and Ramiel. These celestial beings are pictured as always being ready to enter the presence of the Lord, their brightness gleaming brightly in the holy presence. The Book of Tobit emphasizes the significance of these archangels, portraying them as guards and servants of divine will. Michael stands out among them, his presence conveying familiarity with him and his fellow archangels in the celestial host. Michael's name echoes throughout the Book of Daniel, a Jewish literature written in the 2nd century BC but set in the 6th. Amid visions of cataclysmic struggle, a figure dressed in linen, most likely the Archangel Gabriel, speaks to Daniel about the continuing cosmic battle. In this confrontation, Michael, referred to as your prince, faces up against the mighty Prince of Persia, symbolizing the cosmic struggle between good and evil. As the commotion of the end times approaches, Daniel is confident that Michael, the great prince and guardian of his people, will rise to defend the righteous and ensure their redemption. The figure of Michael emerges from these ancient texts as a beacon of hope and power, standing firm against the forces of darkness, a celestial champion of divine justice. The character of Michael occurs early in the Book of Enoch, bringing into the mysterious world of celestial entities and their relationships with humans. The story begins with the advent of 200 angels, called as the children of heaven, who descend to earth and take human women as brides. The progeny of these couplings are not ordinary creatures, they are giants who tower over humanity and cause havoc over the earth. They perpetrate horrific crimes, reveling in violence and bloodshed and showing a callous contempt for the natural order. But the corruption does not end there. These fallen angels convey forbidden knowledge to humanity, teaching them the secrets of metallurgy and craftsmanship, as well as the arts of warfare and decoration. They investigate the mysteries of alchemy, revealing the potential of antimony, a rare metal with transformational abilities. Furthermore, humans are initiated into the esoteric arts of enchantment, astrology, and lunar cycles, gaining knowledge of the cosmic forces that regulate their existence. The mention of antimony, a substance treasured by European alchemists for its relationship with gold, lends a layer of mystery to the story, implying hidden truths and deeper meanings to be discovered. Through these lessons, the Book of Enoch offers a look into a world where divine and earthly worlds meet, where mortal and eternal borders blur, and where the search of knowledge leads to both enlightenment and peril. In the book of Enoch, we see Michael appear alongside fellow archangels Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel to survey the strife on earth. They bear witness from the celestial regions to humanity's carnage and anarchy, a heartbreaking sight that moves them to compassion. Moved by the screams of the suffering souls below, the archangels present their case to the Most High, pleading for divine intervention on behalf of humanity. In response, the Most High releases a solemn edict foretelling the coming destruction of the earth by a cataclysmic flood, a fate that looms ominously in the distance. To protect the faithful from this approaching disaster, the Most High instructs Raphael to bind Azazel, the commander of the fallen angels, and cast him into the depths of darkness as punishment for his misdeeds. Meanwhile, Michael is entrusted with the serious job of restraining Sanjaza and his companions, the instigators of humanity's demise, and imposing divine punishment on them. Michael embraces this sacred mission with unyielding conviction, ready to exact vengeance on the rebellious angels who have resisted God's plan. At this critical juncture, the archangels serve as celestial guards, heralds of divine justice, and agents of salvation, ensuring that the seeds of righteousness are preserved amidst the impending catastrophe. Their deeds represent the eternal conflict between light and darkness, providing hope in the midst of sorrow. The punishment meted out to the angels, known as the Watchers, and their human progeny in the book of Enoch is varied and complicated, representing a variety of crimes that arouse the divine realm's anger. The Watchers are punished for their arrogance in descending from the heavenly realms to dwell with human women, an act that defies nature and violates the divine's boundaries. This illicit coupling of celestial and terrestrial entities gives rise to giants, whose horrific deeds cause even more chaos and depravity in the universe. Furthermore, the Watchers are held accountable for teaching humanity prohibited information and technology, such as how to make weapons of war, manipulate metals, and practice the arts of ornamentation and magic. These teachings, while appearing innocuous on their own, are considered as catalysts for further moral deterioration and societal instability, resulting in more violence, seduction, and moral degradation among humanity. In the perspective of the divine, disseminating such information is a violation of the natural order and an abuse of divine authority. The Watchers have upset the balance of creation and perverted humanity's innocence by empowering it to wage war, participate in criminal rituals, and decorate itself in lavish trappings. The archangels, especially Michael, are responsible for administering justice and imposing punishments on transgressors, restoring divine order and protecting the righteous from the repercussions of their deeds.
So notice what it says right there at the end, that Michael is responsible for judgment. A lot of people don't know that, but he's responsible for judgment. So all the judgments that you see, when the flood came, that was a judgment. It's Michael that's behind it. Like I said, when Egypt was judged, he behind it. Sodom and Gomorrah, not Yahweh, that's who behind judgment. And so that's one of the major purposes of what Enoch was taken up for, was to he revealed the order of things, who was who and all in the heaven. That's why it says that Michael came to Egypt, he got a name for himself. Because like the Pharaoh said, they had knowledge of all the gods. But they said he told Moses, we don't know that God you're talking about. We don't know him. Because they was assuming that Yahweh and the Lord of hosts was the same being. Because he conducted himself under the cover of the Lord of hosts. He's everything he do pertaining to what's been told to him by the Lord of hosts. And he comes and he operates within that realm. So for the longest, they thought that he was Yahweh. But once he came to Egypt, they realized, and Moses started dealing with him and all that, they realized it was, and that's why he's talking like he is when he says, it's me, even I, because, he's being revealed who he is. Okay. Any comments on that? So that's that's the main reason which ties to Psalms 83 when it says that they took the name of Israel from among us so that we won't we'll lose who we know our knowledge of who we were. That name is Michael, or in Exodus 23:20 when he says, watch this, listen to this angel for my name is in him. So that's what they did. They took him out of the equation. And one of the ways they done that was denigrated the book of Enoch. Up until that point, the book of Enoch was held in high esteem. So if what was in the book of Enoch, the same way they do in the New Testament now, but back then, what was in the book of Enoch was law. It wasn't the way it is now. People got this, they are suspicious of the book of Enoch because they put this stigma on it that people can't deal with it for what it is. Okay. Any comments on that? Questions? Okay, everybody good? Okay, like I said, we'll be reading out of the book of Enoch, or book of Isaiah. And we'll start at chapter 1, and we just do some reading and go through it and break it down. Okay, somebody want to read chapter 1, then we'll just switch it up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All praises. Isaiah chapter 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Azar, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Verse 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises, and purifying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Verse 7. Your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your land, strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate, as overthrown by strangers. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Verse 10. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams, and fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or of lambs, or of he goats. When you come to appear before me, who have required this at your hand, to thread my courts. Verse 13, bring no more vain, obsolete oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and the Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Yea, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. 17. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured, and the sword, with the sword, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. Verse 21. How is the faithful city become an harlot? It was full of judgment, righteousness lodged in it. But now murderers. The silver is become dross, thy wine mixed with water. Thy princes are rebellious, and the companions of thieves. Every one loveth gifts, and follow after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither doeth the cause of the widow come unto them. Therefore saith the Lord of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, Ah, I will ease me of mine adversities, and avenge me of my enemies. And I will turn my hand upon thee, and purely purge away thy dross, and take away all thy tin. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Verse 27, Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her coverts and her cumbered with righteousness. And the destruction of the transgressors and the sinners shall be together, and they shall forsake the Lord, shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which they have desired, and ye shall be confounded for the gardens that ye have chosen. Verse 30, For ye shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that have no water. And the strong shall be as a tow, and the maker of it as a spark. And they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them. That was Isaiah chapter 1, and verse 1 through 31.
Okay, you got any comments on what you read?
Yes, sir. That he's judging Judah for what they have done and what they're doing, but he's letting them know that if they don't conform, that they will be these things will happen to them because they're not being obedient.
Okay, it's the exact same thing going on when we was reading last night with Jeremiah, right?
Yes, sir.
The Lord of hosts is using Isaiah right here to let Israel know where he at with them, and that he know what they're doing. He's doing the same thing in the book of Jeremiah with Jeremiah.
Yes, sir.
Right. So you look at you had somebody had something?
I was just going to add that he's constantly using his beloved to warn the people. But the people, again, if we even bring it into women's health, they, when they had a ruler, they didn't have a ruler. And then when the ruler was bad, um, and they probably stressed out and allowed those other seven chaotic angels to get in, spirits to get into them, and keep going back and forth because they were a people of back and forth.
Right. Different generation. Okay, yes. So verse 4 says, a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupted, they have forsaken the Lord. And this is my point right here. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel under anger. They are gone away backwards. So what's a Holy One? is 7 angels. Enoch tells you 7 holy angels. So Saint Yahweh, and we know Jesus ain't no angel. So this ain't Jesus, this ain't Yahweh. So it's Holy One of Israel. So how we know that it's Michael? Well, we got 7 holy ones, but Gabriel is a holy one too. So if we go to Daniel, you'll see the answer. It says in Daniel chapter 10, verse 21, Gabriel talking. So he says, but I will show thee, talking to Daniel, I will show thee that which is noted in the scriptures of truth. And there is none that holy with me in these things but Michael, your prince. So Gabriel and Michael is holy ones. It's only 7 of them. But right here, Gabriel identifies Michael as being the over Israel because he's Daniel prince. Daniel is Israelite. So he's over Daniel. So this the holy one that's over Israel. When you right divide those 2 verses, chapter 4 and Daniel chapter 10 and 21, you see that it's a holy one that's over Israel, and it's only 7 of them. Daniel lets you know which one it is. 10 and 21 is Michael. And not only that, 12 too. The great prince in Daniel 12, which tells you he's great prince. So that's the way to identify that. And verse 9 says, except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been as Gomorrah. We know right now we can't. It's nothing left from Sodom and Gomorrah. And let's go back to what we was reading in the book of Obadiah. That the Most High would always leave a remnant for Israel to deal with, but Esau killed the remnant, and this is pertaining to that right there. If you don't know that, then you wouldn't understand what is being said right here in verse 9. It says, except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant. That's what they're always looking for. Every time he cast them out into captivity and captivity under another nation of people, they're always looking back to Jerusalem to see if it's a remnant there. If it's a remnant there, he's not fully, his indignation ain't came to a full. He haven't done away with the nation of Israel, as long as it's a remnant there. And that's what that's saying, that's alluding to right here in verse 9. Except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we should have been at Solomon and we should have been at Gomorrah. Okay. Then verse 13, the last one, it says, bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and the Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meetings. So oblations is what we're looking at in the book of Daniel. We have a morning's oblation, noon, 3 times a day, and then at evening. You also see it in when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was in Babylon. That's what Nebuchadnezzar had them doing to the image that he had. It was 3 oblations. And that's how Daniel got caught up. Some men saw Daniel, performing that in his room or in his house, his prayers. And that's how they got Daniel in trouble. That's how he ended up in the fire furnace. Okay, but yeah, so that's what the oblation is. Those 3 times a day they had to make those sacrifices in the temple on the altar to the Lord of hosts. And that's what Antiochus brought to an end. That's how we know we didn't talk about today. Ain't no temple. Ain't no temple. So he says that in Daniel chapter 12, he said that he's going to bring, chapter 9. Let me read it. Daniel chapter 9 says, verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, people of the prince that shall come, shall destroy the city, sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end wars and desolation are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifices and the oblations to cease. That have nothing whatsoever to do with 70 AD. Okay? Cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation. Shall be the end shall be poured out upon the desolate. So that's what brought Israel to an end when they stopped those oblations. Antioch could stop it. So when you get to Rome and the Roman Empire and all that, the oblations stopped. They've been stopped. That's how you can see what they've done. Because they had been stopped with no oblations. By the time you get to the Roman Empire, like I said, there's a whore in the land. By that time, it's a false woman is been posted up in Israel, calling herself Israel. And she decked in red, so we know what it is. Esau. Obadiah tells you that. Okay, somebody want to read chapter 2?
Yes, sir, I'll read chapter 2. Isaiah chapter 2. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and he will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. Therefore thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they be replenished from the east, and are soothsayers like the Philistines, and they please themselves in the children of strangers. Verse 7. Their land also is full of silver and gold, neither is there any end of their treasures. Their land is also full of horses, neither is there any end of their chariots. Their land also is full of idols. They worship the work of their own hands, that which their own fingers have made. And the mean man bowed down, and the great man humbled himself. Therefore forgive them not. Enter into the rock, and hide thee in the dust, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty. The lofty looks of man shall be humble, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan. 14. And upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, and upon all the pleasant pictures, and the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver, and his idols of gold, which they made each one from himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the cliffs of the rocks, and into the tops of the ragged rocks for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. 22. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein he is to be accounted of.
Okay. So that was chapter 2.
Sir?
That was chapter 2, right?
Yes, sir.
Got anything on it?
Yes, sir. Just like you were saying, as we was reading in Jeremiah last night, the same thing with Isaiah. If we on verse 5, O house of Jacob, come ye and let us walk in the light of the Lord. So Isaiah is doing the same thing as Jeremiah was doing, but then he also letting them know what the day of the Lord is going to be like.
Right.
So yes, sir. He's warning the people.
Right. That's in chapter 12. It says, "For the day of the Lord of hosts." So that it don't say Lord. It don't say Lord. It says, "For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud." So you can take this right to the day. So it's for the day of the Lord, the host shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and shall be brought low, and upon all the cedars of Lebanon, these are giants and mighty men that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall. So that's cities. Same thing today. Like I said before, it's just way more cities than it was back then. But they 10 times worse than Sodom and Gomorrah today. And not only because of sin increase, but people have multiplied. I mean, they talk about how great a city Babylon was, but when you start doing the research, it was something like 50,000, 100,000 people in those cities. And so imagine LA now and the sin that's being committed and that's rising. So those cities, these cities today is 100 times worse than the cities back then. And those people back then had the knowledge of who the Lord of hosts was. They took the knowledge of who he is out of the scriptures, and we worship an idol, thinking an idol is over the judgment of the world.
Right. Yes, sir.
So we're in a hell of a predicament. Okay.
Brother Leonard, I noticed as I was reading this too, which start with verse 10 in my study Bible, under the day of the Lord, he mentions the lofty and the haughty like in 3 verses, verse 11, 12, and 17. So I have a question with that. So when we go up to verse 9 where it says, and the mean man boweth down, and the great man humbleth himself, what does it mean by when it say mean man and the great man? Ah, okay.
And the great man is being like kings and like Lord of hosts. You know, and like in case of Esther and Artaxerxes, the Persians, they had 7, just like Nebuchadnezzar had 7 counselors. Those are the great men. Him, the king is a great man. The 7 counselors, the Lord of hosts, then whoever that is, those are the great men. The son of the king, the prince, all them great men. But notice in let me get it. I was going to talk on it. It was 13. Upon all the cedars. So this goes back to, like I told you, in the garden. There's 2 trees in the garden. It ain't no trees. It's beings. So these right here is entities too. It says upon all the cedars of Lebanon, those giants that are high and lifted up, and upon the oaks of Bashan. So let's look at that. If you go to Joshua, right quick. Hold that page. Hold that verse. 13. Go to Joshua. Okay. And then let me get it. Okay. Okay, go to chapter 10 of Joshua. It says, and it came to pass when Adonijah, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, and he had done to Jericho and to her king, so had he done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and was among them. And they feared greatly because of Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because of it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore Adonijah, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hiram, king of Hebron, and unto Purim, and unto Jakim. Okay, these all Amorites. I'm trying to go somewhere. Let me get it. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find out when he got to start dealing with okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's right here in 12. It says, now these are the kings of the land which the children of Israel smote and possessed their land on their side of Jordan toward the rising of the sun from the river Arnon unto Mount Horeb, Hermon, and all the plains east. Sion, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon and ruled over Ar, which is upon the banks of the river. Okay, keep going. So these are all giants. Okay, 4. And the coast of king of Bashan. They go to Bashan right there. So if you go back to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 13, upon all the cedars, that's what I was just reading, these giants, upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, upon the oaks of Bashan. That's right here. King of Bashan. Coast of king of Bashan. He's one of the high cedars, which was of the remnant of the giants that dwelled at Ashtaroth and Idra. So that's it. That's what he means by the oaks. The upon all the oaks of Bashan. He think because of they height and they thickness. They like an oak tree. Same way we look at an oak tree. That's how tall they were. And that's how strong they were. And wide and thick. So that's why he's using it. And like I said, same thing in the garden. There's 2 trees in the garden. Tree of life and the tree of good and evil. The tree of life is of Michael, the Lord of hosts, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil is Satan, which is Samuel, Satan, Lucifer. Okay. Somebody want to read chapter 3?
Yes, sir. Chapter 3, Isaiah. For behold, the Lord of hosts, doeth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of water. I meant war, I'm sorry. The judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient, the captain of 50 and the honorable man and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. And I will give children to be their prince, and babes shall rule over them. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. Verse 7, In that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be an healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. For Jerusalem is ruined, and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The shew of their countenance doeth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Say ye to the righteous, that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hands shall be given him. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee causes thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. Verse 13, The Lord standeth up to plead, and standeth to judge the people. The Lord will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people, and the princes thereof. For ye have eaten up the vineyard, the spoils of the poor is in your houses. What mean ye that ye beat my people to pieces, and grind the faces of the poor? Saith the Lord God of hosts. Moreover, the Lord saith, Because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tangling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. In that day the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their claws, and their round tires like the moon, the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands, and the tablets, and the earrings, the rings and the nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles and whipples, and the crisping pins, the glasses and the fine linen, and the hoods and the veils. Verse 24, And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle a rent, and instead of well set hair baldness, and instead of a stomacher a gritting of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. Verse 26, And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she, being desolate, shall sit upon the ground. Chapter 3, verses 1 through 26. The
Okay.
Lord, yes, sir. The Lord, again, the Lord of hosts is telling them what is going to happen to them, because they have turned away, and because they are these daughters of Zion. That all of this is going to he's going to take away all of the things that they treasure, that they idol, and show them out, and just leave them there. And it says, like, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she, being desolate, shall sit upon the ground. Being there'll be nothing left. She'll be the land will be there for all to see, that just like Sodom and Gomorrah, and there's nothing left for them.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. Anything that we love more than the Lord is an idol. So
Okay.
with reading that with the daughters of Zion, you know, they, you know, talking about the you know, the ring nose, the bracelets, all of that, the tablets, the earrings, all of that. So we should never love anything no more than we love the Lord. So he was, you know, giving us a wake up call right here.
Right. Exactly. And if you notice, if you look at that, even though we are under the curses right now, that's still going on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But I want to shine a light on two things out of the chapter. You got anything else?
I was agreeing with Sister Michelle about that, loving more than the Lord of hosts, that he would take those things away from you. I was just agreeing. Shalom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he asked a question about the great men back there in chapter 2. And you can see it right here in chapter 3. It says, for behold, and like I said, you can see the same thing today. It said, for behold, this chapter 3, verse 1. For behold, the Lord of hosts, do take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay of the staff. That's the king, you know, and the high priest, and the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. The mighty man, right? That we know his mighty man there. David had a bunch of them. The mighty man, these great men, the man of war, the judge, the prophet, the prudent, and the ancient. So that's what we're talking about. The great men. Then notice in verse 3, the captain of 50, the honorable man, the counselor. Remember I told you that David had counselors, but Nebuchadnezzar had 7 counselors. Artaxerxes, he had 7 counselors. And then it says, and the cunning artificers. Those are the ones that can, you know, they learn how to fashion the gold and silver and all that when they was building the temple and when they was building all those furniture that go in the temple. They're artificers, right? And eloquent orators. So what are you talking about? Paul was the eloquent orator. Josephus, Sir Francis Bacon, and then back then at that time, even like today, you got Marcus Garvey. You had Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, eloquent orators. Okay, Haman, right? So it's nothing new under the sun. So I said, okay, so, and then you go to what we had when you go back to Genesis, when he doled out the punishment to Adam and Eve, right, for what they had done. Let's look at that. He says, okay, let's get it. I think that's in chapter 3. Okay, it says, okay, yeah, it says, chapter 3, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrows and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and right, and he shall rule over thee. Right, so that's was set in place way back in the garden. So we know in Isaiah they are Israel is in disarray. It's not in order. It's not righteous. It's not connecting. Not doing keeping the laws. So if you go to verse 12, he says, I'll start at 11. Woe unto the wicked! It shall be ill with him for the reward of his hands. His hands shall be given him. Right. So notice in 12, as for my people, the Israelites, children are the oppressor, and the woman ruled over them. So that's a fallen state. That's what we are right now. The children ruling, and the woman ruling over the man, and my people. They which lead thee, cause thee to err. So error, that's a problem. And destroy thy way. of thy past. So when you keep on reading, then you come down to 16. Moreover, the Lord said, because of the daughters of Zion, I'll take you back up to 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and the women rule over them. So what you read in 16 all the way to 26 is judgment. But what you see in 12 and 11, 12, and 13, then he says, and notice how he does it. The men allowing this, right? So it says, thy men, in verse 25, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty men in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she shall be desolate. And she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. So these men get judged right here in 25 because of what's going on in 12. 12 and 13, 11, 12, and 13, he judged them. They're going to fall by the sword. And by him bringing them down, they get a wake-up call in 26. Her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate. Why is she desolate? Because of the man, he killed the man. And she shall sit upon the ground. But what I want to shine a light on is this lament. Because this is another one of those hoodwinkings they did to us. So lament. So you got a book in here called Lamentations. It's the same thing. Lament and Lamentations is so what is Lamentations and lament? He brought Nebuchadnezzar there. They never figured in 1,000 years that the temple was gonna get destroyed and burned. So they were so wicked. He brought Nebuchadnezzar there, and Nebuchadnezzar burnt the temple, burnt all that down. So they lamented. It's Lamentations. So when Nebuchadnezzar came, and they was on, and he had the remnant, they was on their way to Jerusalem. They lamenting. That's Lamentations. But it's more than, just like I showed you, it's more than, it's already had 2 exodus. The first exodus was from out of Egypt. Then the second exodus was out of Babylon. Well, you got Lamentations. It's more than one Lamentations. They lamented on the way to Babylon, and then they rejoiced on the way back, but on the way to Babylon, they was in disarray. It's like losing a husband or losing a child or something. Their whole way of life been destroyed. The Chaldeans came and tore the temple down, so they in disarray. They lament and mourning. They mourned all the way to Babylon. In the same way when they was when the Antiochus came, they lamented. So it's more than one Lamentations. Like I said, it's more than one day of the Lord. So let's go. Somebody got something?
Yes, sir. I was just going to refer you, like you were talking about Lamentations, and this chapter 1, verse 4 talks about that.
Okay. What does it say?
It says, the ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. Of all her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh, her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief, her enemies prosper, for the Lord have afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. That says the first lamentation. We talked about it's more than the one lamentation. Then it talks
Yeah,
about the second one. And then
I'm saying it's more than one, but they only giving us one. They're giving us one, and notice they got it behind Jeremiah.
Right behind Jeremiah.
So Jeremiah prophesied to them that they was going, that Nebuchadnezzar was coming. So when Nebuchadnezzar came, then you got a lamentation. But what my point is to show you is that this ain't the lamentation that goes with Jeremiah. This lamentation right here that they put here go with when they destroyed, when Antiochus came. And he brought the Israel to an end. This is a lamentation because you go to church, chapter 2, verse 9. You see it. Her gates are sunk into the ground, and he have destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. See that? Those are Chaldeans. when Nebuchadnezzar prophesied to them, these are Gentiles. This is the third beast. Antiochus and them. So see, they are the princes are among the Gentiles, and the law is no more. And our prophets also find no vision from the Lord. You got all kind of prophets in Babylon. You got Daniel. You got Daniel prophesying and Daniel getting visions. It's when Antiochus came, and what Daniel had prophesied in chapter 10 that it was going to be abomination and make it desolate, and then it wasn't going to be ain't no more. The temple is gone. The oblations is stopped. Everything. So that's what that is.
Why did they put Why did they put Lamentations behind Jeremiah? You think?
Because, like I said, they set up for JC.
Okay.
Everything was rearranged for JC. Like I said over here, when you look at the book of Daniel, Daniel 9:25 is talking about when they leave Babylon, he's going to raise up the Messiah that's in Daniel 9:25 is Zerubbabel. That's all Messiah is the anointed one, and Zerubbabel is the king. So he raised up Zerubbabel and Joshua the high priest to bring two anointed ones to bring them out of Babylon. So, but that's after Ezra. The book's out of order, and all this rearranging of the books is to put JC where they put him at. So that's what Daniel talking about right here. That's what I say. I went over this before, but this is what Daniel talking about right here.
Okay.
And when it says in Daniel chapter 10, let's see, no, 8. Say he shall in Daniel chapter 8, verse 23. In the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a full, this is Greece, the Gentiles. What the Lamentation just told you, they was among the Gentiles. A fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. This is the Antichrist. 24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully, and he shall practice and prosper, and he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policies, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace to destroy many. He shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes. That's Lord of hosts, Michael. But he did right here is when it happened, and so they changed that. This when the Israelites left, and Esau came in the land. So they rearranged all this to make it look like the people that came out of Babylon are the same people that's there during the time of the New Testament. But those are Edomites that's in the land posing as Israelites. That's why it says, why it's a harlot. That's all the amount of prophecies is talking about. It's a harlot in the land of Israel. The real Israelites ain't there. Especially in Malachi. And so they everything they done was to rearrange everything to make that fit. There's another part in here too. Let me read that part. It says, 25 says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, the Israelites, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto his hands until a times, and a violent time. So that's what we at right now. That's when Constantine came. He changed everything. He changed the Sabbath. And then they redone all these when they concocted JC, which was he was concocted off of Serapis. Serapis was concocted off of Horus. So once they got to God, that's what the Roman Empire wanted. One emperor, one God, and one religion. So once they got their God, a white God, a European, a Greek God, which was Serapis, they changed him to JC. Then they went and they had to put him in the scriptures, because now they got to hold down scriptures. So they had to put him in the scriptures. That's what all this finagling and these books being rearranged and all the times being changed all up and tricked off. All this already happened 2,500 years ago. Everybody waiting on it to happen. It already done happened. Okay.
All praise.
Any comments on that?
Only comment I have is all the being tricked off stuff with, you know, how they did this. Because when you learned it one way and then now you learning it a different way, which makes sense, which is connecting dots. And yet at the same time, it's like a big whoa.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I can relate to what you're saying, brother. Yeah, I can relate to it. Yeah, right here, this is what's happening to a lot of people all over the place, right? They come to the realization that all you have to do, you know, with the internet and all that out there now, all this information, you find out that who he really is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it shouldn't be no surprise. Just a matter. It don't take that much. It don't take that much of an effort either, because the scriptures is showing shining a light on. You can see it. Okay. So what chapter we was on? 3. We read 3.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna read 4. Then we'll close out. So y'all already read 4, or just stopped on 3?
We stopped on 3.
Okay. Say, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Okay. It says, and in that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon every assembly a cloud and a smoke by day and a shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense, and there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from heat, and for a place of refuge, and for covert from the storm and from the rain. So, like I said, the point that sticks out to me in this chapter 4 is, notice it says in verse 5, and the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon every assembly a cloud and a smoke for a day, and a shining and flaming night, and upon, that's not it. Oh yeah, 6. And there shall be a tabernacle. See that's what the Israelites dwell in, tabernacles. It says, and they shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime, and from the heat, and for a place of refuge, for a covert from the storm and from the rain. So Israelites dwell is associated with tabernacles. And you notice that during the time of JC, it tells you that he went into the synagogue and opened up the book and read out of it. So it's synagogues, just like to this very day, synagogues there. That's a major sign that nobody really paying attention to. So that's not Israelites. And I had read out of the book of Jasher right before, at the end of Jasher. Jasher was a judge, and at the end of his, when he gave up the ghost, and he finished being a judge in Israel, it tells you what Israelites are doing. It says, let me read it. Okay. Okay. It says, now it came to pass in the process of time, the children of Israel had built themselves cities and had gotten, this was the end of Joshua's reign, or not his reign, but him as a judge. It says, and he had gotten them possessions in the land of Canaan. They grew mightily, right, for a number. And they were as the sands of the sea. That's the promise that the Lord of hosts gave them. And they built little tabernacles in every city and in every town. And the priests and the Levites on every Sabbath day read before the people of every city and every town, and the law and the statutes, and they rehearsed in the ears of all the people and the mighty works that were done in Egypt and in the wilderness. But they set up no altars, neither did they offer any burnt offerings or peace offerings, save at Shiloh. So we see right here what we just read in Isaiah chapter 4, they in tabernacles. And we see right here at the end of Joshua, before Joshua passed away, Israel was dwelling in tabernacles. They had a tabernacle in every city, in every town, and they had priests and Levites in every town. They was in good standings with the Lord. So when you start seeing synagogues, it's a problem. Okay? Any comments or anything before we close out?
Shalom. Yes, sir, Brother Leonard. I would like to share something with the women here on Prophets of Awakening and our listeners about the Israelite woman.
Okay.
The Israelite woman created with a purpose. What have been your thoughts about an Israelite woman? So many people have different opinions on what makes an Israelite woman and her lifestyle. But opinions don't even matter. Only what the Lord says in the scriptures matters. An Israelite woman is a person created by the Lord God with a purpose. The Lord God created the woman. Again, the Lord God created the woman, not as an afterthought, but as an important part of his plan in creation. He created her in his love and with particular care. Her uniqueness reflects the Lord's purpose and design for her. Israelite woman, do you truly understand how special you are? Adam hadn't even imagined the woman, but the Lord had her particularly in mind. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 18, and the Lord said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make an helpmeet for him. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 19 through 20, Adam was given domestic animals and gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found an helpmeet for him. The Lord God saw that man needed a helpmeet. I repeat, that the Lord God saw that man needed one man. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 through 24, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. The Lord thought of you as the perfect companion, and he brought you into existence. You are the result of his design, and that makes you very valuable and unique to him. Therefore, you cannot become all that the Lord intends for you as an Israelite woman of purpose unless you are continually in order with him, filled with his spirit, learning his will, and obeying his word. Regardless of what society may say to the contrary, the highest worth and dignity were given to the Israelite woman by the Lord God in creation, and he has special plans for you. So be a blessing to yourself, your family, and your community. An Israelite woman cannot fulfill her purpose unless she has a relationship with the Lord. So, Israelite woman, seek the Lord that he may bless you. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 13. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then shall you call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with all your heart. Shalom, everyone. All praises to the Lord of hosts. Selah.
All praises. Thank you,
All
Sister.
No better
praises.
way to, right, no better way to close it out than that. Okay, so appreciate that information. So like I said before, I'll see everybody tomorrow. We got our clubhouse from 7 till 9. Non-Messianic conversations. So,
Brother Leonard, before you close out, you mentioned after Sister Michelle was doing our women's health, you talked about another book you had, pig in something, and we can come back to that later. I just wanted to get the title. What was it?
Pigs in the Parlor.
Okay.
It's a practical guide to deliverance to
Okay.
Like addictions and stuff like that, and demonic activity. And like I said, it's a breakdown on how that works. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got anxiety. Well, anxiety got 6 other whatever you want to call them personalities with it.
Yes.
They come in sevens. So when you put anxiety in check, you put the other 6 in check too. So that's how it works. Okay.
Shalom. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I'll see everybody tomorrow on our clubhouse at 7 o'clock. Shalom.
Shalom.